What's up guys, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to tackle the new series on the channel, which is going to be about, of course, programs. Basically my goal with this is to provide you with a wide variety of free programs so you can customize and make it fit your own needs, and also walk you through the process of programming in my mind. So I recommend you reading the warning before you click the link in the description where you can find these programs. And basically the goal with this file is to provide you again with a lot of programs organized in an index, which is going to detail the level of experience necessary, the modality, so the equipment available, muscle biasing, and the split. That way you can find the best program for you. So today we're going to tackle the Powerhouse program, which is for late novices. We're going to tackle specifically the weights version today because there's a rings and bands version. And then the muscle biasing is going to be general, and the split is a full body 3 times a week. Very classic split. So that's why I thought it was, it was going to be the best way to start off the series. So let's begin. If you're doing this program, I recommend you should be lean bulking. So with that in mind, let's begin. The full body number 1 is the first day. You're supposed to do this full body 1, rest, full body 2, rest, full body 3, rest, rest, rest. So that's how we are going to approach it. And the full body 1, we start off with a deadlift or a below the knee block pull. I think it's pretty obvious that if you're going to do a full body split, that you should include some type of heavy pull because it's going to work the whole posterior chain. So the erectors, the hamstrings, the glutes, also the upper back as well. So you're going to target a lot of muscles at once. That's a nice thing about the deadlift. Also, you're going to be able to get a huge stimulus with very little volume. So again, pretty good movement for the full body 3 times a week. Then we have as a superset neck curls, 2 to 3 sets of 15 to 25, and we leave 1 rep in reserve. For the deadlift, 4 to 6 I believe is best, and we leave 0 to 2 reps in reserve. Because we're doing such low volumes with the deadlift, I would recommend having 1 set to 2 or 1 RIR, and then the following to 1 or 0 RIR, just to stimulate enough the posterior chain. Then the next superset is going to be dips and chin-ups, 4 sets each. One is for 6 to 8 and the other one 4 to 6, and in the same RIR range. That's a mouthful. So with that in mind, the thing here, the way I thought about the rep ranges for the neck curls, of course, because the neck has so many nerve endings, it's better to be safe than sorry. It wouldn't be nice to injure your neck. And then with the deadlift, of course, low reps fit best because of its lower stimulus to fatigue ratio, because it's a very general movement. Also, the stretch in the upper back, especially if you do the below the knee block pulls, if you want more upper back biasing, is going to benefit the most from heavy weighted stretching. Then the dips and the chin-ups, I'd say that for these movements, especially for the chin-ups, it's better to go low reps for the chin-ups because it's a very safe and very grindable movement that you can properly stimulate the lats with. And especially if you go very heavy, you're going to get a nasty lat stretch. So that's the reason to why it is 4 to 6. And then the dips, it's 6 to 8, due to the fact that if you go too low on reps, you might risk having some certain injuries because of the high amounts of weights that you have to use. Also shoulder injuries maybe. So I would recommend going a little bit higher just to make sure that that doesn't happen. But we're still going pretty heavy, and also because the dips are stretch and concentric focused, you're going to get a very good stretch on the chest, a very good arm bend, but also a very nice lockout at the top where the triceps are going to be working overtime. So I'd say this rep range fits the dips best. If you wanted to go lower reps, I would recommend switching the dips for something like a slingshot dip, maybe, just so you don't overload the eccentric. Just use a slingshot, and then you're going to be able to reap the benefits of that very difficult lockout at the top. It's also going to bias the triceps a little bit more, and also don't risk any type of injuries in the sternum or in the shoulders. So to take into consideration. Now we finish off the day with good mornings, 2 sets of 10 to 15, I like good mornings in a higher rep range just because it is a very more out of less weight movement, and usually more out of less weight movements benefit the best from higher reps. It's the opposite as in the deadlifts case. So it's like a back off, if you will. You train first the posterior chain with very heavy weights, and then with a superset in between, you let it recover, and then you finish off the session with higher reps, because your capacity to do high reps, it's always there, but your capacity to do low reps is sometimes there and sometimes not. So it's better to leave the higher reps at the end of the session, because you're always going to be able to do 10 plus reps of something. And we superset that with leg extensions to add some quad volume. 3 sets of 10 to 20 to failure. Now, this day is pretty brutal, but that's the way you have to train if you want to have this low frequency approach, like general frequency. Of course, you're going to have good frequency between the muscle groups, but because you have to condense everything in like a week worth of training into 3 days, you're going to have to push things pretty hard. So that's for the first day. Then the second day, we start off with a vertical press, because the previous session we didn't do any type of vertical pressing, and vertical pressing is necessary not only for hypertrophy but also shoulder health. So 3 sets of 10 to 15. I like the overhead press in higher rep ranges because of its instability, which is not a bad thing, by the way. It's a good thing because you train to stabilize your muscles, but because it is unstable, you can't really train it in the lower rep ranges because it's going to be pretty awkward to do. So you go higher reps, you get the hypertrophy benefits, and you also get the stabilizing benefits and the shoulder health benefits as well. 3 sets of 10 to 15, and you go to failure or 0 reps in reserve. You superset that with hamstring curls and neck extensions, the opposite side of the neck. 3 sets of 15 to 25 for the neck extensions, and 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 20 for the hamstrings. All of them to failure or 0 reps in reserve. With neck extensions, you're a little bit safer. But with neck curls, that's the issue. So that's why you have here failure instead of 1 rep in reserve. Then as a second superset, or giant set if you use that terminology, we have cable extensions or ring extensions if you want to do more calisthenics type of stuff. 4 sets of 10 to 15, 15 to 20. Basically, we use the overhead press as a way of warming up the elbows. If you wanted to, you could also replace the extensions or ring extensions with push downs or with BFR diamond push-ups if you find that they hurt your elbows a lot. That's not going to be an issue. But I would recommend, if you're able to handle it, better do extensions, because they're going to work the long head more, but also will work the other heads of the triceps as well. So I would say it's the more complete movement, even though it might be riskier from a joint integrity perspective. So that's for the extensions. Then we have seated curls or ring curls. Originally, I was going to put some type of pelican curl or incline curl, but then I said you're not warming up the elbows before, like the biceps tendon side of the elbow. You're not warming it up properly, so it's better if you just do a concentric focus movement or a mid-length focus movement, as in the seated curls, for the volume of today. And you do 4 sets of 6 to 12, and again, then we have the X pulls or face pulls, which you can use the cable stack or the rings or even a TRX if you're that kind of guy. 4 sets of 10 to 15 to failure. Again, you can go beyond if you want to, but I'd say if you're a late novice, you don't really need to. Just learn to go to failure on these movements and you're going to be golden. And this is like the arm day, if you will. Again, we had to add some type of leg volume. It's just that I didn't want to add some type of quad movement, because imagine having to do ring curls after you can't even stand up because of Bulgarian split squats, for example. So I thought of that like that. So I added the hamstring curls because of that reason. So this is meant to provide more upper body volume than anything else, and we just add some extra leg volume, so on the next session we can do less hamstrings and more quads. So lastly, we have the final full body number 3, which we start off with squats, my least favorite exercise in the world. 3 sets of 6 to 10, and we leave 1 to 2 reps in reserve. So again, pretty tough exercise to do, and we are pushing it very fucking hard, and that's why we have such low volumes for the legs. Then we have leg raises, 3 sets of as many reps as possible, and the same after that, just not even like like leaving the bar or like stop grabbing the bar, you keep yourself hanging and you keep doing the dead hangs. So it's like a drop set, if you will. You do leg raises and then you drop set into dead hangs to save time. And in that manner, you work both the abs and the forearms as well. And that's not going to affect your squats because you don't use your grip on squats. So 3 sets of as many reps as possible of dead hangs as well. So that's the first superset. As you can see, we covered the abs and the forearms very effectively. Then we have the following superset, which is decline ring push-ups if you want more chest, or decline diamond push-ups if you want more triceps. 4 sets of 8 to 12, and they're supposed to be taken to failure because they are calisthenics movements. The same goes with inverted rows down below, 4 sets of 8 to 15 to failure, and you can do barbell rows. Now, for barbell rows, when I mean failure, it's not like you can even bend your elbows a little. I mean when you can't get full range of motion. You do 8 to 15 to not tax the lower back too much because you just did squats. And the point here is to basically add some extra lower back volume if you want to, but mainly target the upper back. Now, something I will say is that, again, you go to concentric failure. Don't do partials here. You can do flexion rows if you want to smooth out the resistance curve. Don't do cheated barbell rows because that's going to mess with the stimulus to fatigue ratio on this specific spot. You could do cheated barbell rows instead of the deadlifts on the first day. So up here, you could replace this by, if you want a lot more upper back than posterior chain, you could do some type of cheated T-bar row or cheated barbell row. I think that would be fine. So just to keep in mind. And then we finish off with quad work, Bulgarian split squats, 2 sets of 10 to 15, just to absolutely finish off the quads so you don't need any more quad volume for the rest of the week. And because this is the last session, you can go pretty hard on them, so go to failure. I recommend really slowing down the eccentric and pausing at the bottom to get the maximal stretch on the movement, and also don't have to use a lot of weight, which can mess with the balancing act of Bulgarian split squats. And you superset that with reverse curls. So you can use straps for the Bulgarian split squats and then you take them off and go do your reverse curls. Now you can do them on rings or you can do them with an easy bar. And you do 3 sets of 10 to 20 to failure. The reason to why I added reverse curls is to add some extra biceps volume because you just have one quote unquote arm day, right? Or arm bias day. So it's nice to have the option to do more biceps volume while also targeting the forearms and at the same time the brachialis. So I believe it's a complete package in terms of the reverse curls. And again, if you wanted more triceps volume, you would do decline diamond push-ups. Now, let's say here you replace the cable extensions or ring extensions with BFR diamond push-ups. Wouldn't it have a lot of overlap with decline diamond push-ups and it would be redundant? Not really, because BFR diamond push-ups are very triceps biased, and when I mean very, it's basically an isolation. I use it as an isolation because your triceps are the first, like your shoulders and chest have like a 20 reps in reserve, but your triceps are like to failure, if that makes sense. It's like very disproportionate towards the triceps. And decline diamond push-ups are more general compared to BFR diamond push-ups. They still are triceps biased, but they are way less triceps biased, if that makes sense. It's not like biased or not, it's like a spectrum. So in the spectrum, decline diamond push-ups are more general than BFR diamond push-ups. So it's probably more like a press in itself and not an isolation like BFR diamonds. But if you were to be worried about that, you can do stuff like BFR dips, for example, on the arm day, which also work the long head a lot. That's another option if you want to add it in. So that's a thing that I wanted to add. And yeah, that's the full body number 3. As you can see, we work every single muscle except the calves because nobody gives a shit about calves. That's something that surprised me actually. A lot of people train their calves, but they don't train their neck. And the neck is way more important than the calves. And not just because I'm an upper body bro, it's just because it's a fact. So found it pretty funny. So that's for the weights version of the Powerhouse program. Next part, we're going to cover what is basically the calisthenics version. So leave a like down below. Tell me what you think in the comments below. And as always, guys, Thanks for watching.